This is another episode of the podcast Trapper. Trapping up. And I'm your host, Anna Agogo. I'm the founder of Black Pod Collective, Black Pod Festival, and Adode Media, and your friendly neighborhood podcast trapper, which I've coined myself because of the fact that I started off in healthcare and really pivoted my way over to producing podcasts, as well as a full service podcast production studio, which you see me in right now. And so this week, I am joining you guys to talk about setting boundaries. It's actually one of those things that I think, as we talk about burnout as a society, we need to start talking about setting boundaries. So as much as this podcast is about podcasting, but it's about my experiences. It's about entrepreneurship. It's about creating an ecosystem for your brand and systems and everything else in between. So let's talk about this. Let me kind of give you some background as to why this is even a topic I should be jumping into. I started all of these brands back in 2019. That's when I first started Black Pod Collective. And quite frankly, it came from a space of being without. Like, I had been laid off from my job and was trying to figure out what was next for me. What did I want to do? What did I see for myself? And if I'm being quite honest, I didn't envision any of this. I didn't work in radio at one point. I worked at my college radio station, but that's not the same. And I don't have a background in this. And I'm a person who, whenever people ask me, like, do you have imposter syndrome? I don't believe that I do. However, I do feel like because this is not my background and I'm self-taught, I sometimes fail to set boundaries because I don't know what is acceptable. I don't know what's the norm. And so I find myself in positions to where I'm consistently and constantly saying yes to things that may not be what's best for me, my mental health, my physical health, my team, those type of things. And so let me kind of set the foundation for you guys in the sense of, when we talk about setting boundaries, it's not in the sense, I keep saying in the sense, it's not saying that, you just say no to everything, but it can look like that. And so for me, the need to set boundaries come from a space of, I want the best for this community. So I have a tendency to just blindly walk into things saying yes. But I think as content creators, community builders, entrepreneurs, we have to get to a better space to where we are managing all of the various elements of what we do. In the Black Pod Collective episode where I talk about where are we now, like what's going on with Black Pod Collective, I talked about the fact that I had a health scare and I had all of these different things, and my life was in a different place when I first started all of these brands. Well, as I look at my life, no, I'm not married. I don't have kids, but I'm also not in my 20s anymore. I will be 35 this year. And so the ability to continuously say yes to everything, the ability to continuously want to just show up for people, that has to stop. And that's what I want more people who are content creators to think about. I think oftentimes when I see independent creators creating content, it's from a standpoint of it goes beyond just your podcast. Now you feel like you have to show up on social media, show up on TikTok, show up in a newsletter. There's so many avenues that you feel like you now have to show up in, and it doesn't really leave room to feel creative. So some of that setting boundaries is also setting boundaries for yourself. And that's the piece that I want to touch on, is I've recognized that I have to set a boundary for myself because I literally will go after my goals with such reckless abandonment that I forget that I need sleep. I need to eat. I need a social life. I need to make time for friends and family, because guess what? If I died tomorrow, nobody would care but my friends and family. The community that I've built, you guys will be sad a little bit, but you would go on with your life. You wouldn't be despondent. Ooh, look at me saying despondent. Okay, SAT words. And those are just the things. And so as you go into entrepreneurship, because I'm seeing a shift, but a lot of people in the last 2 years have decided to be entrepreneurs. A lot of people are strategists and doing things on their own. And I think we're about to see a shift where people are going back to work because of the fact that it is a lot of work and the lack of boundaries. So as an entrepreneur, as a content creator, it is very easy to fall into the never-ending need to show up. I mean, think about it. I took several months off from Black Pod Collective, and the biggest thing that people said was that, what if your audience isn't there when you come back? Well, if I'm dead tomorrow, guess what? It doesn't matter about this audience. And if I'm not putting my health and my mental health and my body before anything else, what difference does it actually make? And that's what I want you to ask yourself. You're building a brand and everything else, and so you consistently feel like you need to show up. If you're not showing up as your best self, then you are doing it wrong. And that's where setting these boundaries come into play. And so how I do this for myself as of recent, and I'm still working on this. This is not one of them situations where it's like, oh, I got to figure it out. Surely don't. This is a situation of where I show up where I can and how I can. This notion that I could be so much further if I accepted every speaking engagement, showed up at every single thing. You're probably right. But would I be showing up as my best self? Would I enjoy it? Would I be excited to be there? And that's the piece that I know for myself, that these boundaries that I've put in place of, I'm only speaking at things that benefit my community and myself. In the past, it used to be whatever benefited my community, I needed to be there, but not what benefited me. Setting boundaries for me has looked like on Fridays, I'm pretty much off. It's hard, but Fridays, I'm pretty much off. And then also finding another random day during the week where I take a half day. And you're probably thinking to yourself, like, and you're off on weekends? Baby, I'm not off on weekends. This studio be bumping on the weekends. And so I had to start figuring out, like, wait a minute, you can't keep working 7 days a week. You can't consistently just show up on social media all the time, or member meetups, conference planning, all of these things. And the notion of, like, a lot of people ask the question of how do you do it all? And I don't have the answer to that other than I sacrifice myself. And setting boundaries as a community builder has been the hardest. Setting boundaries as an entrepreneur is very easy because I will fire a client. Like, I'm grateful to be in a space to where if you don't respect that I don't work for you and I work with you, that I am able to let you go. Once you let people know that, hey, I'm just not going to do this, I promise you they start acting right. So with clients, it's a very easy thing for me. I know there's some people who are like, oh, this is not how I operate. But guess what? You have to stand your ground. But where it's been harder for me is as a community builder. Because when people hear the word community, they assume that that means that they just readily have access to you no matter when. That assume that means any knowledge you have, you freely give it away. Well, guess what? I'm human. I can't be at your beck and call 24/7. And I had to come to a place to where I recognize that. The fact that Black Pod Collective has been in existence now for 4 years and I've never made any money off of it because the money from it goes back into it is a problem. But I know people who have literally repackaged things that I've taught them and they're selling it as their own course, which, let me be clear, I'm okay with that because we all have to learn from somewhere. So if you learn from me and you decide you want to sell it, go forth, be great and prosper. But what I'm saying to that is I had to start putting boundaries and recognize that this community may not be for you if you're not willing to accept my boundaries. And everybody and their mama says that they're okay with boundary setting for Black women specifically, that we need rest, but only if it is not at a cost to your comfort and your access to us. And that's the big thing I want to leave you with. The next time you think of setting boundaries or you see someone setting boundaries for you, with you, I want you to remind yourself that, one, how much it took for them to get there. Two, I want you to ask yourself, you taking that one step to like ask them, like, but could you just is overreaching. Like, in the break that I took after Black Pod Festival, the amount of people who said, well, could you just, like, I know you're taking a month off, but could you just? The moment you said the could you just, that meant you didn't care about me. Because you literally start off with, I know you're taking time to rest after planning a conference, but could you just do this thing for me? And that's the piece that I want people to get away from. Recognizing that human beings who build community, who are entrepreneurs, content creators, all of those things, we deserve rest just like you. Just like your job when you are on vacation, they don't reach out to you. As a community builder, I need to have space and time where I'm not reached out to. So I want more people to set those boundaries. And that looks like For example, when I decide that I'm not working on something with Black Pod Collective, because I now have days that are dedicated to Black Pod Collective, and the rest of the days are for Dode Media because that's how I pay my bills. And on days that are not Black Pod Collective, I don't check DMs, I don't respond to emails, I don't do anything in regard to that. The amount of people who send me hate mail of like, I sent you an email on Monday, it is now Tuesday, is anybody not checking that? And it's just like, it has been a day, relax. Like, just relax. And so that's what I want us to more so get into is respecting people's boundaries and knowing that it's completely okay to. I know right now in 2023, it can feel like if you are not constantly on, everything would go away. And I'm here to tell you it doesn't go anywhere. The right people who are meant to be in your sphere, who are supposed to be your clients, who are supposed to be your target audience, they will find you and respect those boundaries. So don't feel like you consistently have to be checking DMs, checking emails, responding to, no. It's too many modes of communication. People send me Twitter DMs, LinkedIn DMs, Facebook, Instagram, and emails. I check emails. That I can't handle more than that. I check emails. When I can, I check DMs because that is a boundary I've had to set in place so I don't feel overstimulated. So I want to leave you with, and I think I've said this already, but I want to leave you with taking time to assess things that overstimulate you, things that make you frazzled, things that don't align with like how you feel and all of those things, and set some realistic boundaries around that. And they can start off super small, but work your way through. Like as a content creator, if you have co-host, maybe you guys sit and say, hey, here's the things that are responsible for with our podcast. This is what I enjoy doing. What do you enjoy doing? Divvy it up that way so that this way you're not involved in so many things. If you're an entrepreneur, either hire a team or delegate to the team that you have on things that you're not able to do yourself. And I recognize that I'm privileged to have a team. So if you're not at that space yet, create some automation. Like Airtable automates a lot of things for me so I don't have to think about it. And so think through what that looks like for you. As a community builder, it's okay to not want to be around your community 24/7. It's okay that you want to do certain things just for yourself that does not involve the community that you've created. That is perfectly fine because you are a person first before you are a community builder, entrepreneur, any of those other elements. So I know this was a little different episode than what we've traditionally done, but I wanted to make sure that I'm speaking to you from a different perspective because I am multifaceted. I'm an entrepreneur, community builder, podcaster, creator, but I'm also somebody's daughter, somebody's sister, somebody's cousin, and I matter in that sense. And I want to make sure that we are talking more about the hustle and the grind of content creation and entrepreneurship beyond what social media tells us. So I hope you found this information helpful, and I hope that you continuously join in. You can tune into the Podcast Trapper on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and so much more. So until next week, you guys have a great one.